Yeah, I mean, from the moment I got here, Chris Ilitch said that we would have the resources we need to build a really competitive club, and to build a club that can sustain winning over a long period of time. We're not quite there yet as far as spending at that level, because we need to build the foundation of this team to put us in a position to supplement it with some free agent signings in the upcoming winters.
They crowned their ass. But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Motor City Metrics podcast here at TigersMLReport.com. I'm Rogelio Castillo. This is the third time in a row that I cannot say my own damn name. Alongside me is Mike Papchak and Chris Brown. Yupra should be with us here shortly. The reason why I played that was because it was the same old kind of like where you get the feeling that fans are going to get that Scott Harris is not going to spend money. But we'll get to that and a lot. There's a lot that has happened this week in terms of the world of baseball. I want to get to the Pablo Lopez stuff. There's plenty. Thank you, Pap, for putting that in there. There's plenty of stuff to get to. There's just a plethora. The Tigers winners. They won 5-0 in Boston. 3 home runs in left field, so that was awesome to see. And that's without Kerry Carpenter. And Jack Flaherty had a no-hitter for going for 6 2/3 innings. Is that what it was, or 1/3 innings? Or yeah,
a long time.
Well put.
Yeah, I'm wearing this hat. First of all, it's a cool hat. I don't look good in hats. I have a big stupid head. My friend John gave me this hat a couple years ago, but I was called out for being not cool by a certain minor league team in the organization this week. So I wanted to prove to them that I can wear a hat, even if I'm not one of the cool kids. But it's not going to stay on for the rest of the show. I just wanted to have it for a second.
Yeah, that was a good way to start the road trip. And yes, I did cave in. And before you're going to say anything about my hat, yes, I did get a fitted hat yesterday at the game. Thank you for everybody who came up to during the game and came up and talked to us down in section 128.
Yeah.
As it was funny today during softball, Max Boltman of the Athletic, and I was talking to Colton, and they're both like, "Geez, Tigers Twitter rolls hard." And I was like, "Hey, you have no idea how hard Tigers Twitter rolls." So, shout out to everybody who came out there yesterday. But I ended up getting the cap. It's I know that it's a subject of hatred, or you like it or you hate it, but quite frankly, I have to add it for the collection. I have the Seawolves one too. I'm actually started doing hat reviews. But Tyler, yes, we have thought about doing live commentary during the game like those Jays guys have, but just trying to figure out how that I want to do it where we're all in the same room possibly, but that's not going to, I mean, Yupper lives in Iowa. So, I mean, somehow I like to figure it out. We'll figure it out someday, but for the draft, usually we do the show live in studio, like together. So what I might do is I'm going to try that out and then might build it out. So yes, that is a concept that's going to be in the works. It's just have to figure out logistically how to get it all coordinated. It's pretty easy to do, but I think it'd be a lot more fun if we had it at least once. I don't know, Chris, we could do it at your house and then have these guys remote. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Absolutely. We had the one year when the draft was the same night as the futures game. We kind of did a little bit of that, but that was also like a technical issue. Like it was just tough to do that. Remember, we had Jake on the other side of the room, and we were sitting in the middle. It was a hard to set up. It would be fun to do. At the same time, I don't know, having not done that before, I do feel like there would be a decent amount of us just kind of suddenly getting quiet and watching what was going on. Although if you were sitting near us, and again, we went to the doubleheader yesterday, and yes, saw Stan, we saw Ray, we saw Mike, we saw Terry, we saw a whole bunch of people. It was very cool, and it's good baseball talk. Chatting, we went down there with Brandon and Mark Garash, and just a good time down at the ballpark. Saw a couple pretty interesting games. School Bowl dominant, Tigers tearing up Jared Jones, Paul Skeens, ridiculous, and Kiter Montero's MLB debut. It was a fun day at the ballpark for sure.
Yeah. like I said, I think there's the streaming camera. Like I said, there's things we can do to get it done, and at some point it's going to happen. I think during the draft show, that is going to probably be probably towards the end of June. I think we're going to try it out the end of June before the draft. I think that is totally feasible because Crystal is about 45 minutes away from me, and Pap, if you wanted to go out there for that, by all means. I don't want to inconvenience you at your.
Dude, I live in Royal Oak specifically, and I don't mind saying that. I live in Royal Oak specifically because it's near everywhere. I can get everywhere.
Yeah. No, and that's what I like about where I live off like the 9-4. I live right off 94, and it's essentially 20-minute. Detroit's Comerica Park's like 15, 20 minutes away from me. I live like right where I live in Dearborn area, so that's like smack dab in the middle of everything. So it's kind of nice where I could just jump on 75, I could jump on 94, 96, whatever I really refer to it. But we'll
draw y'all a map to Roger's house later. But
don't. Yeah, I live in a cul-de-sac. No, but no, Ray, it was good to see you yesterday too. It was so funny because Ray wasn't. I pictured Ray differently for whatever reason on there, and so it was just funny. He spotted us by literally us talking baseball, so it was just an unexpected surprise. So
a lot of fun stories too. He did. I not to interrupt, but he came there with his son, and I won't say his name just in case he wants to keep it private. But he said he taught his son about Mark Fidrich when he was young, and his son he got a custom Tigers jersey and wanted Fidrich on the back, and when he got it, he was swimming in it, and now it's like a muscle shirt because he's all grown up, but he was still wearing it at the Tiger game. It was fun to see.
Yeah, but Sean is going on about his Evan Petzold ridiculous immaculate hair. Look, I've seen the guy's hair in person at press boxes all the time. The guy's he's a handsome man. We all know it, and he's the envy of everybody in the press box. So
he sat with us for 4 or 5 innings in game 2.
Yeah,
we were all sitting right there, in the back. No, just it's fun. You're getting around with your baseball buddies and chatting and. Everybody's noticing different things, and that pitch didn't work, and it's I don't know, it was a good time down at the ballpark. Nice break for me from job hunting, but So, and then the Tigers in that first game played one of their better games of the year, and then they did it again tonight. You would argue. So, 2 of the last 3 games, pretty darn good.
Tonight was a lot of fun. There was a lot of good things to hang their hat on tonight. I mean, whether it was the pitching, they had a couple good defensive plays. Showed some power from people not named Carpenter. Good stuff. Badu's home run was a little bit of a shocker, but opposite way. That thing was a thing of beauty.
Yeah. I mean, it goes into some of the things that in terms of batted ball dad in Toledo, why he's been rewarded the way he has. So if people wonder why he got the call up versus Justin Henry Malloy, well, first and foremost, he's on the 40-man roster. And second, because of those things like that. And he's able to hit the ball consistently hard, and he's been, and even defensively too, he's been a lot better on the outfield. So I'm happy to see him get that opportunity. And then there was the question that came up during the week was, well, how come that he got that call up instead of Parker Meadows? Well, I think Parker Meadows is a guy you want to give steady at bats versus, the way you can put in Akil Baddoo, he can come off the bench, however you see fit. And Parker's kind of a guy you want to play every day. So there's questions about that, but it makes sense now. If you look at the way it's worked out so far, he had a home run today, and he's been able to play a solid left field. So defensively, it's not hurting yourself at all with that. And that's why even Riley Green, who's more familiar. I mean, Riley Green got off the sign, hit his first home run since May 6th tonight. And I think that was something he needed that. And with Carpenter with a lower back inflammation, Lord knows when he's going to come back, because if there's one thing about this, you can do a drinking game with how many times we talked about back injuries and how much a back injury is a thing where it doesn't go away. Because if you think about what you do every day, you involve your back. I'm doing this right now, talking. I'm going back and forth, and I'm just doing that on purpose. But just the point is, everything you do with your back. And so it's just the matter of like when he's going to be able to come back, and that could be anytime. So it could be a week, it could be a month. Who knows? You don't want him out that long, but it is kind of a very big blow to the lineup.
Yeah, I'm really happy for Riley Green. It was definitely a huge benefit to be at Fenway for that home run. I got looked into it. It would have only been a home run at Fenway and down in Houston. 2 out of 30 ballparks. So, like nothing like playing at Fenway to just wake up your bats, I guess. So it's not a bad thing. I hope for Riley's sake that it just kind of wakes him up a little bit and shows that he can hit a home run, because at this point, if nothing else, it'll help him mentally. I just thought I wanted to bring up yesterday because I thought that the Pirates series was a perfect encapsulation of exactly what this Tigers team can give you on any given day. They can give you that 8-0 dominant pitching staff win. They allowed 3 hits in that game. And they won that 8-0, and then they gave it right back. And I've been saying this since I got on this pod, and I'm going to keep saying it. Don't be surprised if they're 81-81 with a 0-run differential, because they were 1 game under 500 with a 0-run differential coming into this Boston game. I've been keeping an eye on that. I got a little counter every game that I change. So I don't know. I just thought, while we did see some good things, and I'm not trying to be a downer, like Chris said, 2 of the last 3 games have been pretty good. It's amazing to me, and it was against Paul Skeens, of course, but it's just amazing to me that a team can have those high highs and low lows on the same day.
Yeah, no, and it's true. I mean, one of the things that, especially watching Paul Skeens just go out there and carve and do those things where he's throwing a splitter at 90, 97, 96 at the bottom of the zone, and just that slider too. I mean, it was watching him work, and just one of those things that especially against the Tigers' young hitters, and it is a thing where you're watching Paul go pump out 99 consistently, and the Tigers were able to scratch something across, and Montero had his work cut out for him. And although Montero, you put pitches in the top of the zone with guys like Andrew McCutchen, they're gonna hit it. I mean, Andrew McCutchen, he walked off a double. That was a weird thing. He back flipped a double, and I was like, I was a little. I mean, I know you're retired.
Going a bit.
I was surprised that McCutchen, batting .221 this year, got to that. It was, at least on TV, it said 96, and it was really a little above the zone. He got to that pitch and drove it. That was actually pretty impressive.
The home run against Montero.
Yeah.
We talked about that. That was, Montero. It was center cut above the zone, but it was still. In McCutchen, in his heyday, I think had some of the best bat speed we've seen since Gary Sheffield, and so I think he's probably still. I actually haven't looked to see what his bat speed is still, but a wily old veteran. Mm-hmm. It didn't shock me a ton, but it was. I don't know. We saw out of Montero kind of what we expected. Honestly, he did a little bit better than I thought he would. He kind of duplicated what he's been doing in Toledo the last month or so. And just, a couple mistakes there, that's the step he needs to make to become a viable big league starter, is to just not make those mistakes over the heart of the plate. And Reese Olson was the same problem, really. And they figured that out pretty quickly in the big league. So I don't know. I don't think that's the last time we'll see Montero this year.
I don't think so either. Paul Skeens, I'll tell you, watching that game, that splitter was the splitter Casey Mize was supposed to have. That thing was insane. The one he threw, they called it a splitter on TV. The one he threw to Colt Keith that faded away and just made Keith look like a child. It was really something else. He's a lot of fun to watch. He's going to make people watch Pittsburgh games.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, speaking of Pittsburgh, their fan base was by the second game. First and foremost, the first game, everybody emptied out. It was because I think the kids came for the first game. And then by the second game, I mean, you could walk up from a lot of guys walked up from the upper deck down the lower seats. Everybody left. And so no one wanted to stick around for Paul Skeens, apparently, but Pirates fans did. Yeah, good Lord. There was a guy dressed up like a pirate down.
He was on TV.
Yeah, that guy. That guy is Pirate Steve from Dodgeball. That was Pirate Steve from Dodgeball.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that the actor, by the way, a talented actor, Alan Tudyk, I think his name is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that guy's awesome. But
one of the things, that first game was Jared Jones, and we were I didn't know what time the game was actually, so we were a little bit late. And then there was the thunder and lightning when we were driving in, and Witzel Perez hit that triple off a 98-mile-an-hour fastball to start the game. And I think it was Petzold and Mark were talking, or some of the beat writers were up there looking. And when Evan came down for the second game, they pointed out that Jones didn't get a single swing and miss on his fastball against the Tigers in that game, and that's been a really dominant pitch for him for most of the year. And so there's some speculation that maybe the Tigers saw something. They were able to pick it up. Basically he was tipping his pitch or something, because they put it on him. That's his worst outing of the year. So that was fun to see for Tigers fans. But the Pittsburgh fans it was impressive. Although, as we were saying, anybody with a tie to Pittsburgh is certainly going to come watch Skeens if they have a chance.
Okay, so we got on base twice tonight. Tell me, what do you guys think of the Matt Vierling renaissance?
Oh, I love watching Matt Vierling make Mark Gurashi his good words yesterday, because on his pod, he's been a critic of Vierling quite a bit, and Vierling, again, even yesterday, watching him, he's one of the good, bad, the ugly this week. The biggest thing about Matt Vierling is that it's the pitches. I mean, the pitch tonight, that was a very good pitch, and the pitch recognition he's been able to do at the plate is a step up from what he was able to do last year. And so the consistency is there. He's batting, I think, 285 now, something along those lines. And so he's had a really good month of May. Somebody was, saying something about the All-Star team. Slow down. We're not there yet with that, but keep things in perspective. Look, I mean, Matt, I'm excited for Matt Vierling, but I mean, we didn't talk about the biggest elephant in the room yesterday. That was Tarek Skubal, who it was this masterclass watching him yesterday. Yeah. And the Pirates, I mean, I know the Pirates hitters. I mean, you think of guys like Connor Joe. Look, half the Pirates are just like, who the hell are these guys? These rosters. And so watching Tarek Skubal, even getting there late, still just worth every penny, because there was a couple innings where we had 11 pitches or 6 pitches. It was just, and some of the guys were just sitting there going like that. Right there is efficiency at its finest. Right there is when you can see that happen.
Yeah, I think he had a 6-pitch inning at one point. Was crazy. Because I was listening to it on the radio at that time, and Dan Dickerson's trying to tell a story, which you can remember about what, but he didn't even really have time to start it in that inning because it was over in 2 minutes. But no, I feel less ridiculous. I thought something I'd get a lot of heat for when I started talking with you guys was when I told you that it's almost getting to the point where when I watch Tarek Skubal, I expect something like that yesterday every time. And I'm not comparing him to Verlander, but I'm saying that was the last time I felt this way with a pitcher in Detroit. And he has made that look like not really that ridiculous of a statement so far this year. It's really become something you almost expect. So I don't know. I'm jealous that you guys got to see even a couple innings of that, late or not. That's definitely something to see, and really makes it worth going to the ballpark at least once every 5 days. I mean, 3/5 of the starting rotation, let's be real, is probably worth going to see just on pitching alone.
Yeah. I think that was a good segue to get into to talk about our Skubal topic, but I did right before that. I want to go back to Vierling, and not to boost up another podcast too much, but Evan wrote a story about that, and on their podcast, Days of Roar, he really went into the numbers. But you can see him right on Fangraphs if you look right now. Vierling's line drive rate is up 3%. His ground ball rate is down 14% this year. Fly ball rate up 12%. And beyond that, he's pulling the ball 7% more of the time. So he's always been a guy who hit the ball really hard. It's too much on the ground, too much the other way. If he can continue to pull the ball in the air this hard, he's going to have a lot of success. And so far so good. Cross your fingers that it's a real change. And it's been looking good.
He really seems to be covering both halves of the plate too. I mean, they're really having a hard time getting anything past him right now in any quadrant. So that's the role he's on.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's good. And as I teased there, we've talked about Tarek Skubal a bunch. And I had the misfortune of, after that doubleheader, my phone was basically dead. So I had to listen to 97.1. And the topic of discussion that was how the Tigers have to trade Tarek Skubal because because of
Must do it.
Scott Harris's comments about not being ready to spend, and we'll talk about those in just a minute. And maybe this isn't the best time to have this discussion because we've talked about, if you trade Skubal, you got to get something great.
By the way,
but
I do have the video of Harris talking about Skubal too, so I had that ready to go too as well.
About Skubal or just about spending money?
About Harris and Skubal.
Oh,
spending money.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to play the Skubal one right now. Go ahead, or I can set the thing up.
Go ahead and set it up. Yeah.
So basically the I said we've discussed the trade, but I asked you guys to come up with a realistic
over the weekend for the Tigers. Tigers now a game.
I wanted to do. Sorry.
just come up with a realistic Tarek Skubal extension. What would it look like if the Tigers were to actually do the Colt Keith sign Skubal for the rest of his arbitration eligible years and sign him to a long-term deal? And just to set up, I'll just put out these basic facts that we know for Tarek Skubal. He is currently 27.5 and under team control for the rest of this year and 2 more. So he'll hit free agency as a 30-year-old. He's making just $2.65 million this year, presumably due for a significant salary bump next year, probably close to $8 to $11 million or so, and then possibly anywhere 14 to 19 the next year. So probably 20 to 30 million over the next 2 years. Had Tommy John surgery in college and flexor tendon surgery before the 2023 season, and he is represented by Scott Boras, who is not known to have players sign free agent deals. So those are the facts we know about Tarek Skubal, and if you guys want to discuss what you think a real contract extension would look like, now's the time.
Wait, who was it that talked about this? Was this Caputo?
No, it was Rieger.
Dead. This is the garbage you give me.
They've been talking about it since January. They have nothing else to talk about. I'm so annoyed. Every time they talk about baseball, it drives me nuts.
That to me. Say that to anybody. Say it to somebody.
That's just the truth, dog.
Well, the reason why I just wanted to preference that before you go on. I just wanted to make sure that wasn't good. I mean, Caputo has said that garbage before too. So anyway, go ahead, continue.
I just think that with the Boras factor, I mean, there are certainly a couple of examples where his guys signed an extension early, but 8 times or 9 times out of 10, he's going to bring a guy to free agency, right? Because that's where that's where he makes his money. That's where the art of his deal is. So that's a big factor, and it'll take Chris Ilitch wanting to invest in a guy who has a Tommy John in college. So the average lifespan of a Tommy John surgery is 8 years. Doesn't mean he's going to break down after 8 years, but that's kind of what the number is. He could go 10. Who knows? Nobody knows. So with the injury factor and everything else, I would be hesitant to go much past. We're going to preface all of this on that he stays fairly healthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
That, maybe he has an ankle injury, but he doesn't have an arm injury. Okay. And that he continues to pitch, maybe not this well, but pretty damn close.
Mm-hmm.
If those 2 factors came together and he was willing to sign an extension, I put down 6 years, $200 million. Okay. And what I would think they could do, I'm sure he won't do an Ohtani, but they could do a Max Scherzer where some of that money is deferred out into his 40s or whatever. So if he's willing to do something like that, maybe Chris Ilitch would want to dip into the reserves to go for it. Hard to say, but I think the biggest thing right now is just, will he stay healthy these next 2.5 years?
Wow. I thought I was going to be real high with mine. So if you said 160 or 180,
6 years, 200.
Oh, 200, not even close. Okay. So that would put him that would be like the 6th highest paid pitcher in terms of overall value, or 7th, right behind Aaron Nola. I don't know.
Might be low.
I think that that's a good place to start because guys like Aaron Nola, Tyler Glasnow, who else? Robbie Ray also signed these contracts. Kevin Gossman, they all signed their contracts at age 30. I don't think that anyone has the injury history that Skubal does, But I think that if you use those guys as a baseline, and if this year really is for real, and he makes, 30 plus starts this year and he stays healthy, then I think that, I was aiming at 5 years, 35 million a year is where I was thinking at. I know Boris guys are always going to go for longer, but it does seem like a lot of these guys are signing roughly 5-year deals. It's kind of what seems to be close to standard. So putting him at 175, that would put him just a little bit over Nola there. But yeah, that's what I came up with.
Well, there's a couple things that have to happen in order. I think the idea of the trade, I get why you'd say it over and over again and some little messaging and maybe you change things around. Maybe you start charging more for things and you start bringing other things you have to do to make that happen. Do we want deep dish combos to $40? No. Do we want to keep Derek Skubal? Possibly. But it's, he's gotten bigger. And Matt Broder from Woodward Sports brings up, his mechanics gotten better. But overall, since Erie, too, he's gotten bigger. He's a horse. So that's encouraging. And he's gotten into that. If he's getting that kind of regimen, then that's great. You have a guy who will probably break some of Mickey Lolich's long-standing records as lefty, except for single season strike. Well, innings pitched, because there's one, I think it was a year where he pitched 373 innings or something like that. Something like that. 71, I think it was 71 or 72, where he threw an obscene amount of innings, which will never be seen again, because
35 complete games or something. 34.
Yeah, Billy Martin's like, screw you, I'm going to throw you till your arm falls off. So, actually, you know what? Jacob Lewis brings up a good question, because we do have. I've been doing some little messaging this evening. All jokes aside, there is an image though that does tie into what we're talking about. So, it is interesting you bring that up. And as soon as I get it pulled up here, it is I have it pulled up here. So one of the things that they're talking about in terms of net worth, and we had this early, and I do want to play the video for them talking about Skubal here in a second as well. But here's the net worth. Hopefully everybody can see it here, of the owners. So if people were wondering how they got an ownership, so this was something that one of a listener on Facebook sent this over. So how they got their money. So inherited. So you see here, Little Caesar, of course, food, or where's the Tigers at right there? So pizza, meat services. I don't know what Dick. It's so funny that Dick Montfort got inherited from family for meat services. A guy named Dick. Anyways, I just thought that was funny. Personally myself. But asset management, shipping, which makes from his inherited his dad. Clothing. What the hell did John Fisher do? What kind of what clothing blade is
the Gap? I think his family owned Gap, right?
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Stupid Banana Republic and what else is? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So Bob Nutting, newspapers, which is kind of like the old school inherited from family. So it's interesting to see how many people have inherited from their family. So, but the Reds are, by the way, only 400 million worth. That's it. Yeah, that surprised me. So
just 400 million. Tough break.
Just 400 million. Do. So
that's less than Ohtani.
Well, based on that, what would you pay Skubal if you extended him, Roger?
Well, I pay him. Well, knowing that they won't pay him. I hate to say that way, but if I'm going to, I'm giving him whatever he wants. If he wants to key to the city, great. You know what I mean? Like you get, how old is he going to be? Is he going to be a free agent when he's 30? Is that right?
30. Yeah.
30. Well, knowing that they're going to have the Tampa rule in effect, then I think that, if I want this to happen, give him no more than 4 or 5 years tops. Because by then, every year he's going to decline a little bit. Because if you're going by the rule of 30, you don't pay a pitcher over 30. Look at Tampa. Tampa doesn't do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, so yeah, I mean, whatever he wants, I guess it depends on, you know, if you're doing 5 years and you give him $45 million a year or whatever, then okay. I was thinking about this a lot, and I actually, you know, I my dollar value is I think significantly less than you and Mike, and maybe I'm just being super optimistic. But the way I was kind of looking at it is I think both Scotts here need some good publicity. Scott Harris, after, you know, prove to Tigers fans that you're building that foundation that you're talking about. And Scott Boras, and we've talked about this before, like, hey, you know, he doesn't let guys get to free agency. Scott Boras isn't a dummy, and he just got his lunch taken last year. Like, that was an awful free agent period for Scott Boras. His 4 big clients, Matt Chapman, Cody Bellinger, Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery, all had to settle for like 1 year, prove it, you know, small deals for less money than anybody thought they'd get. Didn't
Jordan Montgomery fire him too?
Yep.
Like
Montgomery changed agents.
Yeah.
So I think Boras could use some positive publicity from a big contract here. I mean, it's Scott Boras. He doesn't need it that much, but I think signing a big deal beforehand might not be as crazy as we once thought. And so the way I was looking at it was, you know, I don't think even if Skubal pitched, 200 innings this year and the next 2 years, I don't think he would get the equivalent of what Garrett Cole got a couple years ago, which was 9 years and $330 million or whatever.
Right. 324. Yeah.
But the pitcher that I keep coming back to, who also had a very lengthy injury history, is Zach Wheeler, who was also 30 when he signed a free agent deal, and he signed for 5 years and 18 million, 120, something like 24 million a year.
118. So, I got it right in front of me. 118.
And obviously, you know, it's been 4 or 5 years since then, so you're going to throw in a little inflation. But if you're also buying out the next 2 years, so I thought, okay, you know what, give Skubal 5 years and 26 million for that extension, but also give him 15 million this year and 15 million, or not this year, but the next 2 years. So then you've got 160 million for the next 7 years. So signed to he's age 35. And then, you know what, to make it like give Boras another win, tack on 2 vesting option years, right? But make them kind of like, so Skubal has to throw like 350 innings combined in 30-30 and 30-31, something that he's probably not going to do. But if he does, it automatically triggers a $30 million extension. And if he does like 150 innings that year, another $30 million. So then he's got $220 million over 9 years. That would make it the largest contract ever for a left-handed pitcher, passing David Price's 7-217. So Scott Boras could crow about that. You know, I got the biggest left-handed pitching contract ever for Tarek Skubal. I don't know.
Makes a lot of sense.
It feels vaguely realistic to me. Again, it's an awful lot of money to put on a pitcher. Pitchers break constantly. We know that. Pitching development has gotten so much better that pitchers come from everywhere. But the hardest thing to get in baseball is still a legitimate ace. It's still the hardest thing to find. And if you have one, and you think he's going to be healthy, and nobody would know that better than the Tigers, I think you try to lock him up if you can. Make him turn down 160 million that could be 220 million. Make him turn. I was
gonna say 5 years, 160 was about. I mean, I said 5 years tops, just 5 years only because by the age of 35, if he could pull a Justin Verlander or Max Scherzer, that's totally feasible. But at that point, you have to kind of look at your value and look at the way it's just the reason why I'm not trying to be cynical, or it's just like I look the way the Tigers are spent. And I mean, we'll just, I want to just play this real quick here.
Be as high as he is. He is number 2 in xWOBA, his opponent's xWOBA. You see first pitch, chase rate, top 5, hard hit rate, weak contact, top 5, whiff percentage, he's 6th in the league. So you tell me, how has he emerged as an ace?
Tarek has done a lot of things behind the scenes.
By the way, Scott Harris looked like he got a giant, his table moved and it leafed right there a little bit. If you catch my drift, the smile he had on his face when he was doing the stats, he's just like, yeah, that's my guy. Yeah. He was going to stand up after that.
He's developed a new changeup that is a real weapon for him, and he has the right mentality on the mound. He's absolutely fearless. He's going to go right after every hitter with his best shapes, and he is going to keep putting the pressure on the hitters and try to step on their throats at the end. And he's not the only one. I think in this organization, we are pitching a lot differently than we have as recently as a year and a half ago. You could put some pretty interesting StatCast boards together for guys like Reese Olson and Jack Flaherty, and a lot of the other young pitchers that we have in this organization right now. We're really proud of our pitching development, and we got a lot more coming along the way in the minor leagues right now.
Yeah, you went out in the market.
All right, so I mean, that's a prelude to things to come. And David Fly, I like what he said. It's an unhealthy thought experiment. Illich ain't paying, but this would also be a PR win for Chris Illich if he cares about those kind of things, if he pays Derek Skubal.
Well, and again, I go back to what I said earlier. I really think that the deferred payment is an option. I mean, that's another one where, as Chris noted, Boras can crow about the total dollars, right? And the Tigers can, delay some of that pain financially, if you want to call it that. And Skubal has money coming for a long time. I would just wonder if Scott Harris is the kind of guy who wants to get into those kind of things that the Tigers have not done before.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not here to carry any water for Chris Illich, right? Like, we've all complained about, we need to see more. But, we're a couple of years away from him spending a fair amount of money on Javi Baez and Eduardo Rodriguez, right? Like, that was the Skubal deal that I was proposing is like the same amount of money as Javi Baez, right? It's $26 million a year. What's Baez making? 24, 25?
Yeah.
And that everybody talks, the Tigers spend more money. They spent, I think they had the 8th or 9th most money spent in free agency last year. Like, it wasn't a ton, but they spent money. It's just their payroll is still so low that it doesn't feel like it. And they're still relying on these young guys. So I think that, if it were a real option and Scott Harris thought it was a good idea, I think Illich would be willing to spend that money. Maybe that's just me, holding out hope that he's a little bit more like his dad than we thought. But like, I don't know, man. Like you Skubal, that real frontline pitcher, started his career here. Like make him. I know if you're not going to sign him, then who are you going to sign long term, right? Like it's Colt Keith again. It's fun, but I don't know. I haven't given up complete hope that they won't spend moderately. Really, I mean that's not even. It sounds like a lot of money, but it's not compared to what other teams are spending.
It's money every team can afford.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Roger just showed us that every team can afford it. Even the Oakland A is worth $3 billion, which is mind blowing, really.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem I have with it. Like that's the whole thing is. I'm not trying to. It's just you got this feeling. I mean, Chris, I'm with you. Like I want to. They did spend, and to a certain. I'm not gonna sit there like what 97.1 says. They're like they didn't spend it all. No, they spent. Shut up. They did. So I just it's one of the things that I really think. If he promises resources, and then he did. In all reality, look what the Tigers have done on the farm system. They're building a facility in the Dominican Republic. They built one in Lakeland. They have done nutrition. There's a lot of little things they've done. So they have spent because the stuff in Lakeland's not taxpayers' money. They have to spend on it because the Tigers own Lakeland. They own the Flying Tigers. So that being said, they've been able to do that with. So it's just now what Scott Harris has to do to prove to everybody else is how creative he is getting free agents and trades. We haven't seen that's the same. Like you haven't seen that yet, and so that's where a GM's worth his salt. That's why Dave Dombrowski's a Hall of Fame. That's why the Phillies are off to the best record they've had in over 100 years because he has been able to sign and get in and position himself the way he has, and so that's why he's consistently a winner. So let's go into our first segment of the evening as we are going inside the numbers. All right, right, Mike, you're up first. What's your insider number?
Mine is 372. And I wasn't sure if we were going to bring this up anywhere else in the show, but I do think it's significant that we bring up. This is the career batting average for Josh Gibson. They did make official the Negro Leagues official into the MLB record books. Josh Gibson played from 33 to 46. Yes, thank you, Roger. Long overdue. These guys were MLB players. They deserve to be recognized. It wasn't their fault they weren't playing MLB ball back then. So I do love this, and I just do love that that's now the mark for batting average in the major leagues. He passes up Ty Cobb and his 367 average, who was the previous all-time career leader. So I just wanted to bring that up. That's insane. And I know they had fewer games, and I know there's just a bunch of stipulations, but I love this. This isn't the only record, but this is the one that I wanted to highlight. I don't know. How do you guys feel about this?
Well, writing on this card, you're going to see the number 372. And that was going to be my number as well.
Nice.
So anyway, how I feel about it is might as well just go with it. I think that in the end, it's a good thing. Certainly, there are plenty of reasons why the people who don't like it, they have legitimate concerns. It doesn't mean they're automatically racist because they don't want to do this, okay? I mean, some of those leagues were a little sketchy at the beginning. Some of the stat keeping was a little not perfect, okay? But they had a committee of people who really looked at it for a number of years, right? This isn't something they just decided to do on the spur of the moment. This was researched pretty hard by some really smart people, and they decided that it's worth doing now. So I won't argue with it. And the people who don't like it, it's one of those things where you're not being hurt by it. Your feelings are being hurt. Okay. Yeah. So get over it. If you want to always recognize Ty Cobb as the batting champion, you're perfectly allowed to do that. There are plenty of people who don't recognize Barry Bonds as the home run king. Okay. If you want to go that route, have at it. That's fine. But I think that with the amount of study that they did, with what we know and have heard and have read about Josh Gibson, there's nothing that MLB has to really apologize for on this one, other than their past acts in the last century. So I think it's a good deal as well. I'm with Pap on this one.
Yeah, I mean, you look at a guy, Gary Gillette, who is our Sabre. So I'm part of the Sabre Southern Michigan chapter, and Gary Gillette's our president. And he is a researcher. He worked with Bill James in the 80s. And if Gary Gillette told me he's one of the nicest guys in the business too. And he's been such a good mentor in terms of showing me stats and what have you. And so that comes to mind. I'll get into my inside number in a second, but he is one of those guys that have researched it. And so the validity of it is, even the early days of the Negro League, they look at the Negro Leagues from like the 1890s till about 1920. And that's where some of it comes in, because it's very relatively, I don't want to say sketchy per se, but that's where stats are kind of like the league wasn't consistent at all. There was a version of the Detroit Stars that existed before 1923. But it was unofficial. They kept stats. So one of the first Cuban players who played in Detroit, in a whole article on, was a player who really, he's in the Hall of Fame, but it was just because based off his merit for what he did in Cuban baseball. But the point I'm trying to make is simply this: is that those guys matter, and they've done the venting pretty well with this. It's awesome. I'm happy. Sean mentioned the movie or Soul of the Game. I think it was the HBO movie in the mid '90s. It was cool. It was. I have no idea how true it was. I think it was probably close to truth, but it was basically it was about Jackie Robinson, Satchel Paige, and Josh Gibson being vying to see who was going to be the first African American to play in modern Major League Baseball.
and it was McKelty Williams and Delroy Lindo and Blair Underwood, and it was a fun movie. And that's how I learned who Josh Gibson was. I wasn't a huge baseball historian in 1995 or whatever. But yeah, I'm one of those people who doesn't really care about stats at all before like 1960. Like, I feel like, there's long history of baseball and lots of crazy numbers, but like, yeah, all right, people hitting 420 in a season, like, come on, all right. There was a time when like you needed to take 6 balls to walk. I think it was. There was a time when you had to throw underhanded. Like, baseball's got a lot of weird stuff going on. So it's just cool. Hopefully, it'll make people know more about the great Negro League stars who, yeah, as Mike said, it was through no fault of their own that they weren't allowed to test their mettle against some of the best players. And the stories of when they did in like these kind of barnstorming games, they lived up to the hype. So good on baseball for putting those numbers in there. And now we've got more to research.
So, Uper, was that your inside number, or did you want?
Yeah, I'll just go with that because I had nothing else prepped. So I was going the same way.
All right, Chris, what's your inside number?
Mine is 111, which is the number of times in the regular season that Justin Verlander has struck out at least 9 batters in a game. After doing it Wednesday night against Seattle. That is the 10th most all time. He's 8 behind Sandy Koufax for 9th and 10 behind Clayton Kershaw for 8th. He's also just 2 ahead of Chris Sale, which is kind of wild to think about. But he's well behind Max Scherzer, who is 4th all time with 167 games of 9 strikeouts or more. And of course, Nolan Ryan leads the world with 282 career games with at least 9 strikeouts. And I've kind of come to, I just talked about it, like I don't really believe in old timey stats and stuff like that, but I've kind of come to view Nolan Ryan as a little bit like Wilt Chamberlain, as guys who were just kind of prototypes who arrived like 50 years early. Like I would bet Nolan Ryan threw about as hard as anybody throws these days, probably with perfect IVB and all the stuff that we know about now. He just happened to have all that and also this incredible durability. And so the difference now is, if he was here now, he'd be pitching, like Hunter Green or whatever, things like that. And the hitters would be also used to facing somebody else. Basically, every team has a guy who's going to throw 98 to 102 now with nasty stuff. The difference was back then, it was Nolan Ryan throwing 95 to 100, and then the next guys were throwing like 86 to 88. And so it was just this ridiculous, like you couldn't even handle it. And that's the way I feel like about like Wilt Chamberlain. Like I said, like he was 7'3" and athletic, and everybody else was like 6'4", had no idea what to do. And maybe that'll be Victor Wembanyama now. Maybe in 40 years, every team will have a 7'5" point guard who could, but I don't know. Anyway,
I don't think they let Nolan Ryan throw 214 pitches either today.
Yes, that's true.
No, I like Stando's. That was a good one too. That built the number 500 fan bases were craziest playing. That one was a good one. Bill James had the reaction of the week though. Him and Tom Tango were going back and forth about defensive metrics, and that was a Twitter. For any baseball geek out there, you want to eat that with watch that with popcorn. And so, my inside number this week is there's 2 of them. That would be the number 5 and the number -5. And here's why. So last year, Jack Flaherty's breaking run value was -5. Okay. This year, it's great. It's at 5. That's how, and so you want to, how's that all work together, Roger? Simply this. Last year, his strikeout rate, his whiff rate was 26.6, which was in the blue. This year, 35.7. When you have a good breaking run value, that's going to help out your strikeout rate. Correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen.
Yeah, I think it's looking okay for him so far.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? You know what makes it better is because St. Louis Cardinal fans somewhere are just getting pissed. And that's fine by me. Well, no offense, Pap. I know you defend the Lou. Stupid jerseys.
I don't know if I defend them. But yeah, I follow a lot of them for Mizzou-related news on Twitter. And yeah, it's amazing. I was talking about them earlier today, how Cardinals fans ready to set the season on fire already when they were below 500. But yeah, they're not happy. They're pissed at all their guys that left and became great.
Yeah, there's like Stan. I hate the Cardinals. By the way, You know, it's funny. Mike Scott's filth. I mean, again, that was also somewhat questioned, Sean, by the way.
Oh, yeah. He's scuffing the ball.
Yeah, he was scuffing the ball. And if it wasn't for a rain out, I think if it wasn't for a rain out, Houston would have won that series because Mike Scott was supposed to. Yeah. But, I mean, that's true. But, yeah, that is a good story. Norm Cash brought a table leg to hit against Nolan Ryan. It was very similar to John Kruk hitting backward, or was it? He has was Randy Johnson the All-Star game? He did something silly. I forgot what he did with that, but either way. Yeah, Sean, for the record, Mike Scott scuffed the ball. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. His numbers that year, if you compare his numbers to any other year until he figured it out, come on. J.R. Richard for life. I mean, if that guy, J.R. Imagine J.R. Richard and Nolan Ryan. Yeah. And I mean, they were in the rotation 1 year together, right?
Oh, at least one, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeremy. Yeah, Jeremy, friend of the show.
Yeah, that was fun. And they were on the Superstation WTBS all the time.
Yeah. Imagine that rotation. And yeah. So, yeah, Gaylord Perry did use stuff like Eddie Harris. And like the Beastie Boys used Eddie Harris in a lyric too at one point.
The cheating seemed to be a lot more brazen. I don't know, not brazen, but a little more comical in like the 80s. You know, Emery boards and somebody, who was it? Maybe it was the 70s. Somebody put Super Balls inside their bat.
Oh yeah.
And then when it broke, the Super Balls came out. Yeah.
Balls, yeah.
Like when Joe Niekro for the Astros had that little file in his back pocket, and he takes it out of his hand, and he goes, "Who, me?" And he throws his hands in the air, and he tried to throw the file behind him, and the ump's like this, he's like this, and he just on the corner of
it on the ground.
Yeah, his brother. I think his brother played for the Tigers, right? Joe Niekro.
Joe and Phil Niekro were brothers. Yeah.
No. But one of them played for the Tigers. Joe did, right?
Joe did. Yes, Joe did.
Yeah.
His big days were with the Astros and a little bit with I think the Cardinals too. But he was a Tiger for a while. Yeah.
All right, let's go inside. We already went inside the numbers. The good, the bad, the ugly this week in baseball. All right. Let's go with Chris. What is your good, bad, the ugly this week?
My good is your Detroit Tigers outfield. If you go and you on Fangraphs, you can do this. You can sort by treating the outfield as a single position, and the Tigers, by Fangraphs WAR, have the third best outfield in baseball this year, with 5.2 FWAR, behind only the Yankees at 7.9. And they have a couple guys named Judge and Soto, and the Astros, who have Kyle Tucker and Yordan Alvarez. And it's kind of wild considering that Parker Meadows is a negative, a small negative on the year, despite his terrible offense. He was still really good with the glove. But yeah, Carpenter, Green, Vierling, and Canna are all worth at least one run, and Winslow Perez is moving up very quickly. Mm-hmm. Which I mean, not to start a whole other topic, but it had me thinking earlier. When Acuna went down, I thought, I wonder if the Braves could use Mark Canna and what the Tigers could get for him. But man, no need to discuss that right now. So that was my good. My bad, and this is actually not bad. I just wanted to talk about it somewhere, and I couldn't figure out where to put it. But if you watched the SEC college baseball tournament last week, they introduced the double first base bag in tournament play. Anybody who's played softball has seen that before, right? The orange bag and the white bag.
Safety bag, yep.
They actually put it there in conference tournament play, which again, I'm fine. That's fine with me. But I had never really, I've heard about it before, but I never really thought about all the little minor things that you have to deal with there. Mm-hmm. And one of them is they say that the batters are supposed to run to the colored bag, and fielders are supposed to step on the white bag, except when it's a dropped third strike and the batters have to run to the white bag and the defenders have to cover the colored bag. And there are other various things that come up that are probably complicating factors, but it was just interesting to see that actually tried in a fairly high level of baseball.
I think you're going to see it more.
Yeah, I think so too. And if you can avoid collisions, that's fine by me, and avoid more nonsense with in the base path, getting hit by the ball, all that stuff. Good. And my ugly, and I think Rogelio referenced this earlier, and maybe well, he was going to bring it up, and also Sean, thank you for the $5 donation. Is the Jorge Lopez situation with the Mets. And I assume that a lot of people have seen this, but maybe not everyone. So if you remember Jorge Lopez, he's been around forever. He was kind of a middling starting pitcher for the Brewers and then the Royals, I think it was, and then made his way to the Orioles and randomly out of nowhere had this amazing all-star season as a reliever. And then the Orioles traded him to the Twins for 4 players in what ended up being kind of a monstrously lopsided deal because the Twins gave up Ynier Cano, was an all-star for the Orioles last year, and Cade Povich, who is now one of Baltimore's best pitching prospects. And they got that for Lopez. But he signed. He's been bad since. Signed with the Mets. Hasn't been great. The other day, gave up a home run to Ohtani. Then, got angry about a check swing, yelled at the third base umpire, got ejected, untucked his jersey, threw his glove into the stands. And then the big ugly part was when he was speaking to the media, and he's from Puerto Rico, so his English isn't perfect. But he basically said, I feel like, here, you can play the clip for me right now?
Yep.
All right, here.
Mendoza said that he understands the emotion, but that particular action of throwing your glove into the stands was unacceptable. Looking back on it, do you regret doing that?
No, I don't regret it. I think I've been looking the worst teammate probably in the whole MLB. So, whatever happened. So, whatever they want to do, I'll be tomorrow here. If they want me, whatever they want to do. So, I'm gonna keep doing this thing. So I'm healthy on whatever, on whatever to do. I'm ready to come back tomorrow. And if they want me to be here, so I'll be here.
I want to address something with this, with this, because I think, and this is what Chris Rose said, and I really like what Chris Rose said here.
You're going to see some emotions from players, but what we saw today out of Lopez, that's not acceptable. We will address that internally here.
Okay, so after that, Jorge Lopez was DFA'd. This is an organizational failure on many levels. The Mets should have put an interpreter right next to him. Jorge Lopez, as we just heard in that soundbite, does speak English, but as you mentioned, it is his second language. And when we're getting into something that's more than, hey, did you throw a slider there? Did you miss with your fastball? Let's make sure that he is as protected as he can be. The other side of this is that when Jorge Lopez was with the Twins last year, he was put on a disabled list because
the mental health list.
If you do a little more deep diving, you understand that he's got a son who is on a transplant list. So he is dealing with a very serious health issue. I'm not saying that excuses you being unprofessional, because people do have to show up to work and we all have to deal with stuff. But I'm just saying that sometimes let's take a big step back here and really look at what is going on in his life and how people can help other people instead of just saying, do you see what Jorge Lopez did? The Mets are coming unraveled at the seams. Like, I think we do need to take a step back.
Amen to that.
Yeah. So, and if people didn't hear it, he basically said, I think I've been the worst effing teammate in Major League Baseball. But it was immediately reported, as he said, I think I've been on the worst effing team in Major League Baseball. And then he got designated for assignment the next day. Now, I will say this. Anthony DiComo, basically the Mets equivalent of Jason Beck, the MLB.com writer, had a pretty strong message on Twitter about that. And I'll just read what he wrote. He said, I want to be clear about this. Jorge Lopez was not DFA'd because of any, quote, teammate confusion. He was DFA'd because he embarrassed the organization with his actions and words, throwing his glove into the stands, lying about meeting with management, and offering zero remorse. That's it. That's the whole thing. Regardless of what actual words Lopez said, he swore multiple times on camera after having an hour plus to cool off postgame. His tone was clear and obvious, and that's the furthest thing from contrite. Mets officials found it unacceptable.
Fuck off. Seriously, fuck off. Sorry, my language is unprofessional there, but fuck off. Like, come on.
Yeah, that I was amazed that the team, like the beat writer wrote that. That felt very like carrying the water for the organization to me.
Oh yeah, I mean you're basically carrying the water. You're doing the exercise like in kung fu movies where you're like this, and it's just the water's like unbalanced like that. Come on, get out of here. Get out. Seriously.
It didn't stop him from signing. I mean, I just Googled. I mean, I wasn't afraid to look this up, but they signed Jose Reyes after he was suspended 2 months in 2015 for domestic violence. So that doesn't embarrass the organization. But you're mad that he threw his glove into the stands? That is an interesting level of standard that you keep in there. I don't really know how those line up.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. It doesn't make any sense. And I mean, look, I understand he has a job to do, but don't come on. I mean, are you doing this to protect your job?
Right.
Come on.
I don't know. So anyway, yeah.
Well, then again, I'll never get a job. If I don't, that means I don't get a job at MLB.com. Oh well.
Apologies if that was your ugly, Raj. I it just felt like a very ugly situation, and we like to talk about the Mets doing ugly things.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
Yeah, so. Alex Lang. Yeah, no, Alex Lang had a
threw his baseball.
Too. Yeah,
threw the baseball into the and he got sent down.
Yeah, get sent down to Toledo. I mean, of course, walking people don't send help either, but yeah. So anyway, no, it was my ugly, but it's okay because I mean, it is a giant crap sandwich. So I'm sorry I swore, but as soon as I heard the end of that, I'm like, get out of here, man. And there was other people who were reported to the Mets who were a lot more objective than he was. Okay.
$5 in the swear jar, Raj.
Yeah. I'll use that money that Sean got me. Thank you, Sean. That helps out for the swear fund. So, all right.
People should just send us money to get you to swear.
There you go.
People like when I'm angry, so that's if that's something that people want, I'll give the people what they want because I've been very. I'll be honest. I'm conservative with my words because people don't like when we swear a lot, and I understand why. People because we have listeners, podcast listeners who listen with their kids in the car and everything, and I'm conscious of that. But at the same time, yeah, I mean that's why we have the YouTube thing. But it's just, I'll give a warning, but that maybe we'll do a live stream instead. Maybe the live stream will be a little different. It'll be after dark kind of thing, So either way, give the people what they want. Uber, what is your? Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, you know what? You're right, Tyler. I'm not gonna. Yeah, and that's another thing I'm avoiding. Please don't turn this into an angry guy show. Also, the other thing too is, as the minority, and I'll just say this: all my life, I talk loud. That's the way I am. I'm a loud talker, and people assume that I'm always mad. I'm not mad. That's the way I talk. And so I've always had to walk into that stereotype, and I don't want to be that because I hate to say that, but people have told there's this assumption where I grew up that Hispanics, Latino men are always mad and angry.
Well, you're a firecracker, right?
You're a firecracker. You're passionate. What was the other
fiery
one?
Latino.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just a big teddy bear. Come on.
Yeah.
Except when he's driving.
Wow.
Oh yeah. But Tyler, you're absolutely right. There is a lot of you show some emotion, but it's you be yourself, and that's what I am. I'm a loud, obnoxious person who loves talking baseball passionately, but I'm also not going to be the Tigers need to do that. 2-4-8. I'm not going to be that guy. Never be that guy. Never have. Never will. And if I am, I think our fans or the people who listen on a regular basis will call me out on it. And people like Tyler call me to the mat. Hey, by all means, go for it. Because I don't want to be a sellout and just be like, even my wife, who's in the other room yelling, she's like, facts. Yeah, she knows. Okay. Anywho. All right. What is your? Okay. Yeah. When I'm driving though. Our first date, by the way, I hit the back end of a pole parking. I had a 5-speed Ford Focus. And I was driving in and out of traffic and driving 80 miles an hour. She's like, what the hell am I doing? Yeah. And then tomorrow's so anyway, go ahead.
All right. My good. I don't know how good it is, but it's just something that interested me because I've been following Cam Caminiti for the draft coming up here. And I noticed today MLB Pipeline mocked him to the Tigers at number 11. And that follows I forget the name of the website Joe Doyle, who's been on the show before, writes for. Do you guys know?
Yeah. He actually DM'd me today his list of Tigers guys. Yeah, I haven't talked to him since the show, and
Well, anyway, their mock draft also had Caminiti to the Tigers. So I don't know if that's just two guesses that came in on that, or if there's some word bubbling out. The Tigers have really been in on him a lot. But boy, you see some of the video of that kid. He's going to be 17 yet on draft day, 17, almost 18, but still pretty young. Throwing 96, 4 pitches. The Tigers have weren't afraid to take Jackson Jobe. We'll see what with Cam Caminiti, but I'm just kind of happy because he's kind of a guy I've been following, and it looks like these are at least some chance that he's going to be going around that spot. Baseball America had him rated as the 24th best prospect in their top 500 for the draft, for instance. So we'll just keep following Cam Caminiti. My bad, the Scott Harris commentary the other day. I tend to get a little angry about that. Not angry, but a little frustrated. There's never a bad time to add talent, okay? So to tell all of us that, we have to have this young core before we can add veterans, why? They never follow up with the why of that, okay? We're going to do that. If that is if you think that is the best plan, okay, give us a couple of reasons why you think that, and are we going to stick to that? Because otherwise, it's empty words. And I know the Tigers, there were 5 shortstops available a few years ago, and they went out and got the one, probably the 5th rated of most of the fans, okay, that were watching that. So they've done some spending, but they've dabbled, okay. You look at the Phillies, as Raj mentioned earlier in the show. You look what the Rangers did to build their world champion. There are more than one way to build a championship team. And Scott Harris and Chris Ilitch can walk and chew gum at the same time. Last I checked, I'm pretty sure they can. So you can make trades that take on some money. You can sign the premium free agents. We've seen the list. We know they have the money. So that commentary to me was frustrating. Spending money on the lower levels in the minors is fantastic. They have to do it. They have to develop players. But when you look at what signing bonuses are and the caps put on those in the minor leagues for the draft and for international free agency and all the extra money they built on new programs, that's still a drop in the bucket, really. It's pretty cheap on the major league level comparatively to going out and getting talent. And talent is what wins ball games. So I don't know. We'll see. Chris Ilitch has always said he wants to compete. Evidently, there's some timetable that they're on where they will try. So we'll find out. My ugly, I love the City Connect program. I try to give them all the benefit of the doubt. I like Detroit's. I gave it, I believe, a B- or a C+, which is a decent grade. Toronto came out today and almost some similar colors to the Tigers, but boy, the whole thing didn't work. Didn't love it. Hated it. My son's collection will not get it. It looked like a Miami Vice type of color scheme. Okay, with the red and the blue. Didn't like it. The skyline of Toronto is fine. That also doesn't seem very inspired though, because they're going to have that big tower. Okay, and that's what else is there on that? I don't know what Toronto is known for otherwise. I guess maybe that's part of the problem. But they just didn't do it for me. These are about a D+.
I kind of like that hat, though. I gotta say.
Yeah, the hat's fire. I'm sorry, I buy that hat. I mean, definitely. Yeah. The jersey is just the Frasier logo from the TV show with the CNN tower. That's all that is. I don't understand the gold part. Seems a little weird because Toronto. I don't know. I didn't like that part. I'd rather see even like the old school logo that's right here in the middle of this picture that I have up.
Mm-hmm.
That's like from the, I don't know. That was one of the worst ideas that Toronto ever had. Like, oh, you know what? Let's take out this timeless logo and put this crappy. I mean, I think it was like the second one after the Blue Jays won the World Series, and that was just Sean said the jersey has huge Colorado vibes, and we're gonna, you know what, Tyler, that's a good idea. Because I'm gonna add something else to the mix here. So I also have the Cardinals jersey. I don't know if anybody's ever has seen that, but I will add the Cardinals jersey to the mix here. But so they are the Lou. So are we going to jam it or slam it? So everybody if you like it, you jam it. If you don't like it, you slam it. So here is the St. Louis jersey. So the Lou, in other words, the bathroom for people out there. So they're the bathroom. So jam it or slam it. Slam. Okay. I like the red. I do like the red. The name, but in the Cardinals, this is the first red jersey they've had in team history, which blew my mind. I couldn't believe that. But so jam it or slam it.
They should have made the pinstripes a little more prominent. They're very subtle.
Yeah. English bathroom slam. Okay, a lot of people like the English bathroom slam. All right.
Wait, was slam good or jam? I thought slam was bad.
Yeah, so slam. Okay, sorry. Slam was bad. Yes. Slam was bad. Sorry. Yeah. Why not make a jersey with the arc? That's a good idea. So I hope they lose. That's all they. So the comments are all just getting.
I heard the owner insisted on the birds on bats logo, no matter what. That was non-negotiable if that's true. Wasn't going to be the original design. The rapper helped design that, right? What's the guy's name? Do you guys
Nelly?
I think so. Yeah, he had a hand in this, in the design of that jersey.
So what is the Band-Aid then?
Maybe it's I do think that St. Louis fancies itself as a timeless franchise, right? And it probably wants to think of itself as like the Yankees, and the Yankees, of course, aren't doing a City Connect because they're like, no, why would we do that with other jerseys? So I could see that where they want to keep the the timeless Cardinals on the baseball bat symbol. I don't care about jerseys and stuff. It does nothing for me. I will say, and Raj bought the hat. Being down there at the game and seeing tons and tons of the gear, it grows on you the more you see it.
Yeah.
You're like, that looks cool. So I'm sure it'll be like that with just about every city. And whatever, if people are saying engage with the game, if they hate it, and I say I'll never buy it, or if they love it and buy it, as long as they're paying attention, that's fine with me. I just want people to pay attention to baseball.
I don't know if Nelly did that logo. It looks like he just copy, reverse, put them together, and was like, "Yeah, that'll work," because that's pretty much all they did.
No, look, as far as like the best City connectors go, I love the Miami Marlins one. I'm just partial to that because the Miami Marlins ones pay tribute to the Miami or the Havana Sugarcanes. So for those who are not familiar with my love of Cuban baseball and all things Cuban, the Miami jerseys were a cool little throwback to it, to the Sugar Kings, which are a team that was the last team in Havana that was in the International League. So they were a AAA franchise of the Reds until Fidel Castro took over, and then they moved to Jersey City. So the Tampa, yeah, you know what? I'm with you, Wercow, by the way. I love I like the jersey. I don't the hat, but just because I'm a collector, I do those things, and that's what I have. But no, the Miami Marlins jerseys. I don't know if I'm going to show this real quick, and then we're going to move on. For those who don't remember, those are the City Connect ones for the Marlins. That's still my favorite.
They were very nice. I like the pinstripes a lot.
Yeah,
I thought Tampa was good. I thought Arizona was good. The Serpientes one.
Oh, that's a good one too. Yeah,
that gold color is really nice. And I'll tell you what, the one I think was the gutsiest and made the most sense for the program of being connected to the city, even though a lot of people hated them. And I don't love them, but I just think it was a good move, was Boston. They took the Boston Marathon colors and made that jersey. And I know a lot of people think it's ugly, but that's what the whole program was supposed to be about. And they kind of bought into it.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know that there were colors for the marathon until that. I'm like, wait, the marathon has its own colors? All right. Yeah, I don't know. Some of them look like they could be legitimate, like alternate jerseys, like those Miami ones. Like they should wear that 20 times a year. Like those are cool. So I don't mind. And we come from watching tons of minor league baseball where I'm still waiting for that to filter up to the big leagues, where every other weekend is like Paw Patrol night and
Star Wars night. Yeah,
like Peppa Pig week, and everybody's wearing different jerseys. But
by the way, the Nelly reference to we had somebody point out that Nelly, I'm from the Lou and I'm proud country grammar. So it's a country grammar lyric. So thank you for that. That's totally forgot about that because I don't know my rap or anything. It was something related to the Replacements or my other favorite bands. But anyway, all right. So where are we at? Mike, did you do your? Or
no, I can go. I mean, my good's not necessarily like amazing. He didn't have, the most stellar MLB debut. But my good, I just wanted to give credit to Kiter Montero. He was signed in 2016. If that gives you, and he's what, 24, 25 now. So he's been in the system forever. I think he signed when he was 16 years old, I think it was. And while he didn't have the best ending line, he had 4 1/3, 5 hits, 4 earned runs, a walk, and 5 strikeouts. At the end of the day, it was just 2 home runs that was the result of all those runs. So he did leave a couple way out right there. You guys brought it up earlier, right in the top of the zone. He got crushed for it. But I think overall it was just cool to see a guy who's been in the system so long. And it just kind of – I feel like it shows that the development of the pitching in the minor leagues is just going really well. If they have a guy that's able to make a start like that, was really a couple good swings away from having a really, really good start. And I know some people are kind of weird about the 4 1/3, but the 4 1/3, that's the most they've let him pitch all year, or rather, that's tied for the most. That's his standard outing. So I just wanted to give him credit. I liked seeing him over Manning just to see somebody else for a change. I was going to give a honorable mention to Matt Vierling. I decided to wait to see if he was going to hit a home run today. If he hit a home run today, I was going to put Matt Vierling as my good this week. But for the bad, something else we kind of brought up already is Acuna Jr. Tore his left ACL. He tore his right in 2019. This is just one of the premier talents in the MLB that is not going to be playing the rest of the year. And the Braves already lost Spencer Strider. So I don't know. I know it's dumb. Injuries happen every year, but it sucks that the Braves – I really like the Braves' chances, and they just lost 2 giant players. Like what Chris said earlier, like you think they need an outfielder because maybe Tigers have something for him. And then we already went over my ugly because I actually was Jorge Lopez as my ugly. I figured we'd had to talk about it somehow. So I take one and I get one taken away from me. That's all I got, guys.
All right.
Yeah, that was just going to be a segment on that because I thought that was very worthy of it. So
for sure.
So my good is the year 2016. And the reason why I mentioned that is because that's the year of the Tigers International Draft Class. And with Kiter Montero making his debut, Tigers now have 3 players from that draft class who have made their major league debut. Montero, Wenzel Perez, and Jack Olofsson, who pitched for the Oakland A's. So that is, sad as it sounds, progress. Because Tigers have not gotten anything from their international draft classes in quite some time. And now you have a regular in Wenzel Perez who's doing pretty well. Montero showed, like you mentioned, Mike, you mentioned it, and it's worth mentioning. It sounded really redundant. Sorry, I did that again. He pitched well despite everything. And just that was a tough spot for him, considering that also he hasn't pitched more than 5 innings all season long. And for Matt Manning, and I'm doing a piece on him about him going to the bullpen for reasons that are pretty clear. Second time through the order, 315. Third time through the order, 378. He gets demolished. And there's been, there's talk about it, like the way he sequences everything. He doesn't listen. So maybe it was just a word saying the message like, hey, we got other people besides you. And the Tigers needed some international wins. I mean, I know Olofsson he just jumped up. Like he went from West Michigan to Toledo last year. And that was a big jump, all things considering, because he was just another guy at West Michigan for a while, same as Montero. So to see those two kind of reach the major league at the same time, it's really cool. And as Chris mentioned, for all the minor league games we watched, to see 2 guys that we really just kind of popped up and went somewhere, it's pretty awesome. Let's see. My bad is in this, and we already talked about the ugly, so we're not going to go in that. Just the bad this week is Alex Manoah, who left the game today with right elbow discomfort. And this guy has fought his way back. He's been pitching better as of late. He threw a sinker to Dominic Fletcher, and then he bounced off immediately. They knew something was wrong. And he also had some discomfort against the Tigers, but he went under treatment and felt confident he could go without any problems. So they're going to be having MRI. I think they had an MRI today. But Toronto's rotation's already been kind of beaten up already. So either way, it just sucks too. And a guy who could make an appearance is Yaro Rodriguez, the Cuban right-hander who they signed in the offseason, could be making his place, but he's also recovering from injury as well. So anyways, that is my good and bad. And we already, again, discussed the ugly earlier. So
yeah, we were talking a little bit about that. I like that you brought up the international class, because we were talking that we didn't think they signed anybody in 2015 and 2014 at all that made the big leagues. 2013 was a good year. That was Adames, Domingo Leyba, and somebody else I'm blanking on right now. But
because Castro and Castro and Soto, right? Or that was 2012.
I think that was earlier. That was 2012. Jose Azocar was in 2013 who they kind of gave up on, like Jack O'Loughlin. They were like, yeah, I don't know if they gave up on him, but they were treating him like an organizational arm last year when they sent him, like you say, when you make that jump from high A to triple A as a pitcher, that's not something they do for prospects. That's something they do for guys that they need help. That they need a body. Yeah. But yeah. And then we got, and I don't know if I mentioned this on the minor league podcast, but got a really glowing report on a current Tigers international prospect named Flaherty Montilla. And he's been putting up numbers, so people are paying attention to him. But then the scouting report that came in from our buddy Jeff Ponce was off the charts. Like he had a scout down there basically compare him to Starlin Caba, who is a top 100 prospect right now. And this is a kid who, when we just redid our top 30, Raj was the only one who had him in the top 30, had him 30th. And like this could be a case where he's top 10 in the system at this time next year.
Wow.
So and honestly, fans are tired of hearing about it and waiting for the future and all that stuff. But this is the best crop of talent at low A and in the rookie ball that I can ever remember for the Tigers since we've been doing this. It's and when guys are this good, they can move quickly. So things might be pretty fun here in a couple of years. You don't want to count on it, right? It's just there's some very promising things going on down there right now with Max Clark's had a great month. He's leading the Florida State League in RBIs as the number 2 hitter.
Yeah.
Kevin McGonigal, who I was asked to call McGarnagle because I had a buddy in high school named Mikey McGonigal, and I would always call him McGarnagle because there was an old Simpsons joke. But he looks like the real deal. He's hitting like 340, 350. Everything's hard. He looks awesome. So a lot to like down there right now. I know fans are tired of waiting, but it's coming.
What position does the guy play that Jeff Ponce wrote up?
Flaherty Montilla is a shortstop / third baseman. I will read you the exact quote here because this was a quote from a scout. Quote, favorite player plus defender on the left side with advanced feel for the barrel and plate discipline. Slam dunk top 30 guy with great makeup. Him and Starlin Caba, who is a top 100 prospect in baseball, are easily the best guys in that division, and I don't think it's that large of a gap. And then so the underlighting data is all really good too. 8% in zone swing and miss, 11% chase rate.
Righty, lefty.
He's a switch hitter.
Ooh. Yeah, switch hitter. That's even
and the looks of him, the way he looks, his swing, it looks. There's McGarnagle. Montilla's swing looks a lot like Winsel Perez to me, but he's a little bit more physical at the same age than Perez is. So there's a lot to dream on there. A lot of time still to go, but yeah. That's a name to remember for sure.
By the way, this is one of my favorite. We're trying to work we did the Better Made logo, but this is one of my favorite ones. I wanted to put a baseball, but Over 800 OPS served for Kevin McGonigal, and he had a home run the other night. Right field was just an absolute bomb. And watching his at bats, it to me, it's exciting to watch because first and foremost, do yourself a favor. If you're watching the Clearwater game with the Clearwater broadcaster, kind of watching him mute because he does this a lot. He doesn't pause. Like I'm pausing right now. He keeps talking the entire time, and he has saliva in his mouth. It's really weird. Anyway,
But just one more thing I want to bring up.
Yeah.
We almost had the rarest event in baseball happen tonight in that game. I don't know if anybody saw. We were putting out videos. A player on Clearwater hit 3 home runs. He had a solo home run. He had a grand slam. He had a 3-run homer, and he was up with 1 man on base. He had a chance to hit for the homer cycle, which has only happened like twice in baseball history, as far as I know of. But he all he did was hit a lousy RBI single. So yeah, just a monster game. But, yeah, that was close. Deadly Ninja Beast. How much power will McGarnagle grow into? It's, he's a smaller guy, but he turns on the ball and he hits it hard. Today, he hit a ball to left center at like 102 miles an hour, 390 feet. The home run he hit the other day to right field was 415 feet.
It went into the back, parking lot, I think.
Like he's not a guy that you would look at and say, okay, that's going to be plus raw power down the line. But there's a certain phylum of player, and we've seen it. And I really don't want to push the expectations up too much. But there are certain guys who are so good with their bat to ball skills and with knowing when to go for it that they can produce 25, 30 home runs a year based on their swing and their decisions. And these are guys like Isaac Paredes, Jose Ramirez, Ozzy Albies, Jose Altuve. These guys all hit 20, 30 plus home runs. They're small. They're not big, bulky guys, but they're such good hitters. They can do that. And I think McGonigal has a chance to be like that type of player.
Let the record show on this date that Chris Brown said that Kevin McGonigal is going to be the next Chase Utley.
Well, that's what McGonigal likes to compare his game to him. It's hard not to be excited about what he's doing. It's just low A ball. We've seen the quality of play in low A ball is not good. But he's raking down there, and they're gonna have to move him up to West Michigan at some point just to challenge him. But for now, it's fun watching him and Clark do their thing.
I'm definitely a fan of just his, like I said, the way he. Somebody I do like Alex Berman or Dustin Pedroia. I think he's more like an Alex Berman. Pedroia was more of like scrappy. I think it's more polished to McGonigal. So
and left-handed hitter too. I mean, compared to Bregman and Pedroia. But yeah, I mean that's you throw all these kind of small second baseman guys kind of in that same category. But yeah, I think just a lot of promise there. I'd say he's probably more likely to be like a 12 to 15 home run guy, but I'm not putting it out of the question that he might develop into one of those elite, pull fly ball hitters.
Do you think they would, as the way they're going, just keep promoting them together?
Yeah, more likely.
Yeah. It feels like that. It feels like it's going to be that way. We were talking about that before on the other show. But probably not for another few weeks, just because. So
get that first half title, secure their playoff berth, and then go from there. So Joe Hill asked earlier for $5. Thank you, Joe.
Oh,
exquisite.
Thanks, Joe.
Did you hear that Will Clark about his solution to Angel Hernandez and his bad calls? Apparently, it's a round of beers. That's good.
I did not hear that.
Yeah,
but
off the Frickers building.
So that was that one. And then here's thank you, Sean, for the $5. Love the show. Appreciate all you do. What is your one realistic trade target we could get? Mine is still Heston Kjerad.
It's not a bad one. I mean, the Orioles have an awful lot of talent there in AAA, and they don't have a lot of places to play them in the majors. I would think. I just don't know what you're giving up for Heston Kjerstad and what the Orioles want. I mean, I don't think they're giving him up for Jack Flaherty again. But do you trade Reese Olson for him? I said before the year I wanted to trade Olson for Westberg. I don't know. That's tough. It's tough to think of somebody. I mentioned earlier, like I thought Dalton Rushing could be a trade target, but I don't know. He's a catcher first baseman in the Dodgers organization.
Gentlemen, do you guys have anybody before we move on?
No,
I can just put this is interesting. I don't really have too much of an opinion. I haven't looked too much at the trade market yet. It's May. I haven't thought too much about it, but there's an article in Bleacher Reports, take it with a grain of salt. It says an ideal landing spot for Paul Blackburn would be the Detroit Tigers.
Paul Blackburn?
The A's?
With the A's. I just figured I'd bring something to the table because I don't have an opinion otherwise, honestly.
I don't feel like the Tigers need more pitching.
Yeah, I'm not really sure where this is coming from at all. So clearly, it doesn't look like the national media really understands what the Tigers need either.
Yeah.
I mean, let me just say, they're not going to be able to get one of the Rockies catchers. That's going to cost way too much. But in an ideal world, I would just love to not have to worry about catchers anymore. And give them credit. The catchers have looked a lot better. Both Carson Kelly and Jake Rogers have looked a little better in the last couple weeks. But I want to have a catcher that I don't have to worry about anymore. And that would be ideal for me. But I just don't see that actually being possible.
Dylan Dingler's knocking on the door this week. He's going to kick that door in.
Another double tonight.
There you go.
You know a guy who I really love to see in Tigers uniform. I know it's not going to happen. Something like Ryan McMahon, because the Rockies love him, so they wouldn't do that anyway. I mean, he has a conditional opt out after the 2025 and 2026 season. That'd be somebody I'd love to see. But that's real. That's not. I would love to see. Realistically, if you're looking at it's funny, Mike, you're talking about the catcher situation in Colorado. Yeah, somebody like if I got to trade somebody like Bryant, if you're looking at maybe an option to perhaps help you, I don't know, like there's has to be somebody in Colorado. Like I know the Rockies are like the reason why you don't look at the Rockies is because the Rockies are so stingy about trading guys. They have their own love for their own players, so it's just bizarre to me. Yeah. But if I'm looking at a team like I'm looking at somebody like the Reds. If the Reds are out of contention by then a player I like a lot, and I'm not going to say Jonathan India because that's just too easy to say, but I would look and see what's going on with Jamer Campanello. Maybe he can play first, but
whoa.
No, all jokes aside, because I know that would happen. You know what? A guy who I see the Tigers going after just because of his versatility and it fits that profile is, although he's a light-hitting guy, is Santiago Espinal, because that's who the Tigers should go after. A light utility hit infielder.
Former Blue Jay?
Former Blue Jay, yeah.
Yeah, there have been times when I look at Colorado and I go, I wonder if Ezekiel Tovar is an option, but he doesn't walk ever. He's really young, and there's some power and some speed there. It would be fun and a good defense, but I don't think they get rid of him, even though they have another pretty talented shortstop. Is it Adele Amador? But he's having a rough year. So I don't know. Like, yeah, it's funny. I haven't really considered who they might trade at the big league level to upgrade their team. I'm still in like trading for prospects mode, but
well,
Abraham
I think Arizona's struggling enough. They could be they have some talented players that could hit the trade market too this year. There's no reason why they wouldn't put Ketel Marte out there.
Go get Christian Walker, right?
Yeah.
He's a free agent after the year.
It's not a bad idea.
You got a first baseman who's really good, and then you could send Torkelson to Toledo to try to figure it out for the rest of the year. And if he doesn't,
my way. All right, folks, it is getting late. It is. Yeah. We're upon the hour. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast, watching us tonight. And I really appreciate everybody tuning in after the Tigers game. The Tigers continue their road series against Boston before they head out to Texas, and we'll be back next week. Monday, we'll be doing another minor league podcast. We might have a guest up with that. I have to figure that part out yet. Sam, the Leibowitz, who is the voice of the Erie Seawolves, may join us on Monday. And also, Chris and I got asked to go on the Eat 'em Up Tigers podcast on Tuesday. So we'll be with those guys. It'll be pretty cool to see. Jordan is out of town, and so we don't get often to get on other podcasts. Reasons why, but whatever. It's cool. So again, thank you, Terry. Thank you to everybody who's I saw yesterday at the game. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you guys next week, or if you want to listen to us on the Minor League Podcast with Brandon on Monday, go do so. Have a good week, everybody. See ya.